What is television? It seems like a simple question, but television means different things to different people. We in the Caribbean are very unique people. That's why we need unique television. Welcome to M&ETV, where we showcase our lives in the Caribbean. M&ETV is about us, the special way we talk, the way we walk, dance, move. M&ETV is about me. It's about you. M&ETV is about our amazing Caribbean experience.
Hi, good evening, and welcome to another edition of For Fact's Sake. I am once again your host for this evening, Joseph Frederick, and I am sitting in for my guest, who is none other than Mr. Kwesi Devines, the councillor in the Tobago House of Assembly and the Secretary for the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment. Mr. Devines, good evening and welcome to For Fact's Sake.
Good evening, sir, and thanks for having me here this evening. But I'm really looking forward to the show this evening. I know that there's a lot to be put on the table. I'm getting a lot of feedback about the show, I must say. And I really hope that more and more Tobagonians tune in to get the facts, because I think it's very important for their decision making.
Very true. The facts are important for the decisions that we make as we move forward. These decisions are, one, includes the election that we are about to face here in Tobago, and also the decisions that we make on a daily basis that impact not only ourselves, but the future of Tobago. As you know, or as you should know, we are celebrating today International Men's Day. And to all men out there, I want to say to you that as a society, we value what you do. And we recognize that as men, we must value the women that are around us. And to Mr. Devines, we want to say Happy International Men's Day to you as a man, as a leader in our society. And I want to get from you, before we start looking at some of the facts that must be put on the table as Tobagonians approach, as we, the people of Tobago, approach the polls on December the 6th, and as we continue to make decisions that are impacting our lives and the lives of the children around us. What are your views on International Men's Day?
And first and foremost, I remember from a very young age wanting to be a man. That is what I wanted to be. There was a song, The Man with the Pepper Sauce is Boss. So when I was probably about 5 years old, I was eating pepper sauce because I was convinced that's what made you a man. Then I realized that wasn't it. I wanted a drumstick whenever there was chicken being served, and again, that was not it. And it was not until later in life that my grandfather sat me down and said that a man should be able to take responsibility for his actions. And I think all throughout what we do in our daily lives, being able to take responsibility for your actions and acknowledging as well that those actions have impacts on others. Because very often we think that we could just do what we want. Especially in the seat that I said now, every decision that I make as a man, as a leader, as a secretary, whatever it is, has impact on many people, especially the vulnerable in our society. And unfortunately right now, the most vulnerable in our society are more times than not our women. And I've made deliberate attempts, and it's something that I've seen around my colleagues around as well, make deliberate attempts to ensure that we take women into consideration because, and I say it without apology, I think women are the cornerstone of our society. And we need to treat women with respect, with care, and with the type of understanding that, again, without women, we would not be here.
Mr. Devines, you've spoken to the fact that as a society, and rightly so, that we need to treat the women around us with a certain degree of respect and care.
Yes.
Now, there's information coming to me. I cannot at this time verify that information, but there's information coming to me that there is a candidate in this THA election that has been attacked, and it appears that the attack came from the person that she's running against in that electoral district. It somehow, to me, appears to contrast with one of the arguments that was put forward by that group when they decided to put a code of conduct in how the election should be run.
Yes.
As we are here in International Men's Day,
yes,
what are your thoughts on that issue? And have you as well heard some rumors that that candidate, and I'm going to call the name, Mr. Fali Augustine, may be the person that is responsible for some of the negative attacks that is coming up against Ms. Cordner?
And you know, I first and foremost, I just want to say that I'm really happy to see Franca out and about again. The reality is that at one time, all of us were praying assiduously for her, religiously for her, because her mental state was not the best. And it's not easy to be a 26-year-old young woman who grew up as an orphan, by the way, and without that motherly or fatherly love, that parental love and guidance, to now put herself forward like this, to serve her community and be ridiculed and targeted, and I would say targeted, by a well-orchestrated attack because, and I would say it's a well-orchestrated attack, because the attack only started after nomination day. It meant that
some political organization was the driving force behind this attack.
So it was not a case of, you know what, we are just out for Franca. Because if all of these videos or whatever, or voice notes or whatever recordings were in the space before, if there was not a political intent behind it, then it would have come out from the day one, from the time Franca was announced as the prospective candidate of the PNM. As a matter of fact, it should have come out even in the case of, I remember another female candidate who had put herself forward before. From the time her name was mentioned, videos and photos started popping up. But from the time Franca was mentioned, there was silence. From the very moment that she was officially named as candidate, nomination day, the attack began. And the information I have coming to me again is that it is from her opponent, who she once regarded as one of her mentors.
Wow, wow.
It was a teacher and so on. And again, and I'm not surprised because behavior is linked. And we saw back in 2020 when Watson Duke called Franca as one of the persons he labeled as stink and dirty. Now this, at the time she was 24, 25 years old, not even on the political hustings, yet her name made an appearance on the hustings, on a platform, on a PDP platform, being branded as stink and dirty.
But hold for me, one of her mentors, and I think that she publicly stated this, that one of her mentors is the person that, I should say, was the person
Yes.
that she's running against now.
Correct.
And at that point in time, in no clear way did that person come forth and defend a young woman
Yes.
who, one, looked up to you in some way.
Correct.
And two, somehow felt that you may have had what is required, as some people in Tobago at this present time feel, that he may have what is required to become the next chief secretary. But it appears to me to be a total betrayal of the trust of a young person, and by extension, young people.
Yes.
And I don't know how I am to somehow put my mind around this idea of, because I'm sold by Mr. Duke that I'm going to be chief secretary, it appears to me that there's a push for a win at any means, and the code of conduct that you spoke to seemed to have gone out the door.
Yes, so the social contract and the code of conduct is clearly a flams, a mamagai, a very thinly veiled deception. And the reality is, Joseph, that, as I said before, behavior is learned. And clearly in Farley's case, if you can't beat them, join them. And he's unable to stand up to Mr. Duke. And Watson said it before.
But are you saying that this is not a core part of Farley's personality that we have never seen before? Are you saying that it is because he has been associated with Mr. Duke in the recent past that we are now seeing this? There are some persons that I've spoken to that have suggested that Mr. Augustine is very aggressive based on his posturings.
No, and again, and that's why I said behavior is learned. And of course, after a while, once you start emulating or you're around someone, there's so many sayings for it. My grandmother may have said, if you lie down with dogs, you're bound to get fleas. And I mean, I know Farley from school. We both went to Bishop's High School. I know him after that. We did youth work together. But the person that I'm seeing now is not the person that I knew. Clearly, his association with Watson Duke.
Did it bring out his true self?
Well, I am not the expert on this. All I can say now is, and I've heard people in the community speak to it, that person, and I was actually speaking to someone from the SDA community last night, actually, and he was speaking to the fact that that person is not the person that he once knew.
Wow.
And he's seeing a change in his disposition. And again, the person I was speaking to said, you know what, clearly it is because he's been around Watson Duke. And Farley's inability to stand up as a personality, as a persona, your own inner characteristics, you cannot stand up to Watson Duke.
Are you somehow suggesting that he is not maintaining his social mores and values because he somehow believes that becoming chief secretary has a greater value to himself, not necessarily to society, than standing up and maintaining his social mores and values that has been taught to him by possibly his parents and his community?
At this point, Farley is all in. And I guess that's where he stands. I don't know if I can agree with that position, because if you take a moral stance, to me, you take a moral stance. And he's in a position where he wants to be chief secretary so badly. It is in his mind, it is within grasp, it is within striking distance, and he is willing to go along with anything that is done or said to achieve that goal. And the sad thing about it, it's coming at such a great cost. And even if you look at it not from a societal level, if you start with someone that he mentored, someone that he was once his student, if you cannot defend that one person,
wow,
you're talking about just one person, Frank Accord, only. You are unable to stand up to your leader who called Frank a stink and dirty publicly.
And we're not talking about now, we're talking about something that occurred in the past, and
Correct.
It seems to be a pattern of behavior.
Correct. So you were unable, and I saw a post from Melanie Roberts-Rajman that spoke to the fact that what she went through, even working with Mr. Duke, and Farley at the time telling her, don't worry, just stay quiet. We can ride this through, we'll win. And, so
it was all about winning. It was never
winning, yes.
about people and building a society where people as a whole can benefit.
Correct.
It was about him and his own self-aggrandizement.
So, and that's what it is, honestly. And you know what, Frederick, even beyond that, so even if you were to go beyond the treatment of women, if you were to just put that aside for a moment, as hard as it is to put it aside, the autonomy bill that was shut down in Parliament because of statements made by Farley Augustine and others. When the bill came back after the final consultations, there was a clause in the bill that made the election or selection of the Chief Secretary mirrored or similar to the selection of the Prime Minister. Now, in the current Tobago House of Assembly Act 40 of 1996, the Chief Secretary is elected right after the election of the presiding officer. The Chief Secretary is elected from amongst the 12 assemblymen at the time. Of course, it will be 15.
Who commands the majority?
Correct. So whoever, and the thing is, so at that point, so a vote is taken. So the minority, even though they are the minority, they have a say in who become the Chief Secretary. It's a vote. Now, when the autonomy bill came forward, after the final round of consultations, it was recommended by the Joint Select Committee that the Chief Secretary, the person who holds the office of Chief Secretary, be selected similar to the Prime Minister. In the case of the Prime Minister, it is that MP or the leader of the party who commands the majority. So as long as you're the leader of the party and you're commanding, your party commands the majority after the primary election, it means that you are then selected or appointed as Prime Minister, and the President swears you in. So we were saying that the leader of the party in Tobago, after the election, whoever gains the majority of the seats will be named or appointed or sworn in as Chief Secretary. Now, with all the smoke and dagger and the smoke screens about what isn't right and whatever else, with all of the benefits that there were for Tobago, we have now foregone possibly $1.3 billion. We now
And that's per year until we have something new, right?
We've now foregone the opportunity for public servants for us to have a dedicated or two dedicated commissioners on both the Teaching Service Commission and the Public Service Commission, so that public servants' issues and teachers' issues would have been dealt with. And I know there are many issues
yes, that we have.
that you have. So you would have had dedicated persons and many other benefits that we can go through, at another time. But you're willing to give up all of those things because now the arrangement that was put in place by the PDP to fool Tobagonians that Farley would be Chief Secretary cannot work because he's not the leader of the party. And he cannot be the leader of the party because essentially, and the reality of it is,
The party belongs to Watson Duke.
it's basically a club. It is Watson Duke's private club. And he calls it a party, fine. But what Duke says goes. And he has said it repeatedly that no one can speak on his behalf. So Farley cannot talk on his behalf. Even on the issue of secession, he made it very clear that he wants to secede. If he is to take control, Tobago will seek its independence from Trinidad. Farley could not stand up against that because as far as Watson's made his claim, this is what we are going to do. And as the leader of the PDP, he is speaking, and he made it very clear. He is speaking about secession. Even when there was a 6-6 tie, initially there was negotiation ongoing. There was a proposal by the PDP from Farley. There's a counter proposal from Tracy Davidson Celestin from the PNM. And then Watson decided all bets are off. So there was no longer the Chief Secretary designate negotiating with the leader of the Tobago.
So it does then raise a question in the mind of the average voter. It's a possibility that if the PDP wins, Mr. Augustine would be appointed the Chief Secretary. But who is going to be leading the administration? Given what you have just described,
Correct. Who
would be in charge of the day-to-day decision-making for the people of Tobago? It's a major issue that we have to conduct.
It is, and it's you could call it wolf in sheep clothing. Someone said to me, Farley is the ultimate fake profile. Farley is Watson Duke's fake profile. When you log in and see Farley Augustine and you see or hear him talking, you're not hearing, that is just a front. That is a fake profile for the man who is really calling the shots. And that man is Watson Duke.
And I think that your organization, Mr. Veens, the People's National Movement, has a responsibility
Yes.
to ensure that the people get this clear message.
Correct.
That in leading Tobago, and especially coming out of a pandemic, in leading Tobago, we can't have that kind of puppy show.
Correct.
We must have a clear indication of what leadership and governance means.
Yes. And yeah, go ahead, sir.
And so I want from you at this time, I want you to tell our viewers why you believe at this time that the party that you are a part of, and I want to get into some of your business as a people's national movement. And I want to get into it from a standpoint that there may be persons out there that are saying that there is an issue with the leadership. Because here you have selected a candidate who a lot of negative information has been dug up, it appears, by persons in the other party, in the PDP, that seeks to undermine the progress that the administration that you are part of has made.
Yes.
What does governance mean to you? And do you believe that your party has made a bad choice or some bad choices because you had put forward yourself as a candidate,
yes,
you were not selected? So tell us about your feelings on those issues and what governance means to you.
So let's deal with governance, and we will deal with all of those issues, because I think you've asked some very pointed questions. First and foremost, my view on governance, especially as it relates to what the PNM has done for Tobago while in governance for the last 21 years.
Mr. Devines, my information is, and I'm speaking from what has been put out by, and this is for facts' sake,
yes,
I want you to bring the facts and let the facts speak for themselves.
Correct.
My information is, you all have done nothing.
So, so I guess we could probably deal with it in reverse order. You know what? Let's deal with governance. And again, in how I see it and how the party sees it, and the PNM has been in the business of governance for over 60 years. We've been in a position to lead the way in Trinidad and Tobago for quite a long time. So we are very experienced. And governance is really about ensuring that you manage public resources for the public good. And of course, in a transparent manner, of course, that you benefit the most possible people. So in any given situation, Joseph, when you make a decision for the greater good or for the public good, there will be some people who may feel that that decision does not benefit me. A case in point, to develop the tourism sector.
Forgive me for interjecting again. But is it a case where the decision does not benefit them, or is it a case where you want to kill the goose that lays the golden egg because you want more egg,
but,
right? And the eggs are not going to come in that rapid, as have been put out by persons opposite to the People's National. You understand what leadership and government is. You understand that there is a period of time that it takes from getting an idea, putting systems in place, and then realizing the benefits of that idea. So is it a case of shooting the goose that lays the golden egg?
And quite often, that may be the case. But I think that the relationship and the communication has to be there between those in governance and the people. The challenge is very often the channels of communication are distorted by those with their own agenda.
It's very true.
And very quickly, in case in point, the airport and sandals. Now, we've spoken about the private sector, and I just want to touch very bit on what we will do to develop the private sector. And there was that we said, let's develop a brand new international airport terminal. Let's attract a well-recognized international hotel brand to Tobago, so that we could provide more opportunities to Tobagonians. The location for the airport, because Tobago is only 116 square miles of island paradise, I must say, with almost 60% protected areas, protected land space, whether it's rainforest or mangrove, there are only limited opportunities for physical development. So you're looking at, outside of building an entire brand new runway, we're saying let's build a brand new terminal. So it means that there are people who live there, and unfortunately, and it's a difficult decision to be made, that for the greater good of all of Tobago, these residents, we will relocate them to somewhere else. And the Tobago House of Assembly, under the PNM administration, has gone leaps and bounds to ensure that these people are relocated and given the best possible treatment. But to build the airport means that you have some people who are almost, you could say, disadvantaged, or some people might even dare say disenfranchised. But the reality is they are being dealt with in the most respectable manner properly, and it is to benefit all of us. Now, in a scenario where some people feel that the minority or we must get things done and get it done immediately, as you just said. It is unrealistic. With Sandals, when Sandals was jettisoned, people were saying, well, Sandals is bad for the environment and whatever have you. Sandals was only in the development stages. They were yet to submit or get any type of approval at the point in time from the Environmental Management Agency. And the Environmental Management Agency is that independent body that assesses any development in Trinidad and Tobago and says, listen, this is good, this is bad, these are the parameters for this development. So you could come, Joseph, and say, you know what, I want to put down a 2,000 room resort in Mason Hall, where you live. And they would say, you know what, based on what we have here, these parameters, the environmental and social concerns, you can only put down 100 rooms. So it was at the very early stages, and the EMA was yet to make a determination. So again, persons wanted more information, and there we were, we robbed ourselves, or some persons, a few persons.
We allowed persons to dupe us into believing that the Standards project was not in our best interest.
Correct.
Unfortunately, and it's the same people that are coming to the people of Tobago.
Yes, right now.
With a lot of plans that are similar to the plans that were going to be put in place
Correct.
for a project like Sandals, and telling people that they should be put into office, but they don't understand clearly what management and governance is. And
Correct.
it's how do you contend, how do you ensure that the average Tobagoan, people like myself, understand and know that speaking an idea and managing a system towards the accomplishment of that idea are two different things.
Completely different things. I mean, and sitting from where we are, where I am now, where we've been responsible for developing or the development, physical development in Tobago, and we're talking from Crown Point to Charlottesville, and we have completed projects within time, within budget, realizing cost savings for the people of Tobago from the Division of Infrastructure. And the reality is, for example, Turpin Bend, which you're in the process of getting completed. Someone said to me once, well, why don't you just run a bridge and bypass the two corners? And, you know, before I got into politics, I remember hearing a leader saying, anyone who says just doesn't understand the problem.
So true.
Because if it was just as easy as you said it is, it would have been solved already. So we went through the painstaking effort of procuring a project manager, getting design, doing surveys, topographical surveys, geotechnical surveys, the full gamut, to get to a place where we have proper designs, consult with the people, come back, tweak the designs, consult again, to get to a place where you could say, no, we are ready to break ground. And of course, then it means getting the funding, because people don't realize, and I always say, especially through this pandemic, one of the greatest achievements of this PNM administration has been to ensure that people have food on their table. And we hear people complaining about...
Mr. Devins, before you get there, forgive me for continuing again, but before you get there, you just described to me a process, a system, the mechanisms for getting a project from the ideation phase
Correct.
to the actualization phase.
Yes.
And it seems to me that it's somewhat time-bound. You get leaks from time to time, Mr. Devins, because I hear persons saying that why don't we wait until the last year before election, or the year before, the last year before election, to actually do something? And I think they need to understand that having an idea, there are a lot of elements that must be put in place before that idea can be executed. And so, on behalf of all of us in the Tobago space, I want to apologize to you in particular, because you are the Secretary for the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment, and you face a large brunt of some of the infrastructural developments and challenges that occur in our space. So on behalf of the people of Tobago, I apologize to you. But I want you to communicate to them again, because I know you have been doing it in the past. I want you to communicate to my people, my Tobago people, so that they understand that, yes, you won the election the last 4 years. You have to take some time, one, to assess, yes, it's 1 p.m., but you have to take some time to assess what has been occurring, because you are the new secretary. Correct. There may be some new directions that you may wish to take. You have to take some time to assess what has been occurring and then look to chart a plan towards creating that Tobago and that developed Tobago that we all want.
So a couple of things. One, in terms of development planning, yes, it takes time, and you always have to assess what went before and what is to come.
Variables change.
So what I can say, that in many cases, there has been a smooth transition. For example, some people say, well, because of Watson, we did XYZ in Roxborough. The Roxborough Administrative Complex, for example, those plans were in place since Hilton Sandy was the area representative for the area. And this was pre-2017.
So you know what people are going to say? Why did it take so long?
Good. So it means then that you had to, again, identify the land, put plans in place. And even then, whenever a proposal is brought forward, you may realize, you know what, this is the ideal. And there was a 3-story building was the original plan. And then it was recognized that, you know what, we can't do this 3-story building realistically. So we have to get other things done because we have to get other things done. And then there was a scale back, and there's a design time, there's a lead time, then there's allocating resources to getting it done. So the building, we broke ground on that building in 2017, by September of 2017. But it meant that the preparatory work to get to that place where you could break ground took many years. And again, from the vision of Hilton Sandy, we built 2 bridges on the Milford Road. There's a Milford Road Bridges program. The Lambo River Bridge was completed, and the Thompson River Bridge. But that came from the previous secretary, Gary Melville, doing the preparatory work, getting designs done and so on. Even when those designs were completed, we found that we still had to amend the designs to take into consideration things like sea level rise and all of that. So you had to now adjust the designs that we had, and we had completed that. You paid a consultant to complete. And then, even then, you now have to allocate the resources, and I'll give a quick example. When we did the rehabilitation, or started the rehabilitation of the Claude Newell Highway, we started with a 2-kilometer portion between Orange Hill traffic light and Rockleyville traffic light. And again, we receive all types of licks for it because people say we don't know what we're doing
space, yes.
and whatever have you. But at that time, that project cost us $27+ million, plus VAT and so on. The initial estimate was $33 million. Someone tried to say to us, well, the original cost was $12 million, but $12 million was for 1 kilometer, and it was not for rehabilitation. We actually went down to sub-base in most areas and built back up the highway from literally the ground up.
Nice.
Now, the allocation in that year for that project was about $8 million. Now, this project was completed within 2 to 3 months.
Yes.
Now, the allocation is $8 million. Where did the rest of the money come from? We spent $27 million plus VAT. Where did the rest of funding come from? And it meant that other projects from other divisions had to be cut short to fund that. The unemployment relief program, which we have rebranded as useful, relevant, and productive, they were going through many challenges for many years, over 1,200 employees. $80 million was the allocation. When I just got into office, the program spent just over $60 million. Where does the rest of funding come from?
Mr. Devines, what I must say, and I think that most of Tobago, if they are right-thinking people, would agree with me, that you and the administration that you are part of have done a tremendous job.
Yes.
And somehow, I believe that it appears that those people in the PDP are either magicians or crazy people. And on the other end, I call them crazy people. Because it took them about 6 years to build some structure in their party. But they want to come to the people of Tobago and sell them that here's what, a lot of the projects, they are going to get it done in a year, 2 years. Insanity. We want to take a break. I'm going to come back. We want to discuss getting people to understand the process and the procedures for projects and how we need. Viewers, we're going to take a break at this time.
What is television? It seems like a simple question, but television means different things to different people. We in the Caribbean are very unique people. That's why we need unique television. Welcome to M&ETV, where we showcase our lives in the Caribbean. M&ETV is about us, the special way we talk, the way we walk. TV is about
the grand.
In the final, Quincy Wallace, Ayuma fell Will Tobago.
Join us on Sunday to 7 p.m.
Live on WAC 90.1 FM Visual Radio.
and on M&ETV, Channel 20 Digital and Channel 154 Trico Tobago. Also on GLS 103.5 online radio. Like and subscribe our Tobago Local Talent Blast Facebook and YouTube pages.
Donate to our FCB account in Tobago 2850134 and help us support our local artists.
It's a blast!
Start your morning right with your daily dose of inspiration right here on Music and Entertainment Television, M&ETV.
All right, welcome back, viewers. You tuned into For Facts Sake, and I am your host at this time, Joseph Frederick, and I am chatting with none other than the hard-working Secretary of the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment, Mr. Kwesi Devines. Mr. Devines, before we went to the break, you were outlining to us some of the processes, some of the procedures that are necessary. And I want to stress the word necessary because there are some people out there, and let me call the name, the PDP, they have been putting in the public space that somehow, as an administration, one, you have not accomplished anything, and two, that they are going to accomplish things in like a year. And based on what you have outlined, some of these things that you have outlined as you seek to develop Tobago's developmental agenda, these things are going to take some time. And I want to thank you for being on this program to let our viewers know what the facts are. Because it appears to me that this group, that PDP group, is on a course to duke the people of Tobago once again. And we cannot afford for that to occur. So I wanted you to continue as you describe to us what I view as the sane arguments in this political campaign as we head to December the 6th, and major decisions must be made there and on the days that follow after.
Well, I guess the easiest thing or the easiest argument is to dupe especially young persons into believing that nothing was done. Because you come in and you take for granted that the things that exist were always there.
And would always be there.
And would always be there. And the fact is, there was a time I remember when Shaw Park was the only lit field in Tobago, and it was such a grand achievement for the people of Tobago. Now we have the most lit fields per capita anywhere in the region.
Wow.
Again, the health centers across Tobago, or health facilities, we were struggling for health facilities. Healthcare was something that we were almost ashamed of in Tobago, or going to the old hospital at the Old Fort. We now have the most health facilities per capita in anywhere in the region, and we're talking about 2 hospitals now, multiple health centers and new health centers as well. So even in terms of those basic things, we're talking about community facilities. I did a lot of youth work and volunteerism around the region, and I remember in Haiti, there was a project that the Red Cross was looking to do in partnership with JCI, and it was to build a community center in Haiti, and I thought to myself, but we have so many community centers in Tobago, and it was just, we took it for, at that point, and that was many years ago, I recognized that I was taking for granted something as simple as having a community facility. Because the people in Haiti, in a particular portion of Haiti, they were very adamant about having a community facility. Yet here we are across the length and breadth of Tobago. Not only do we have community centers, we have multi-purpose facilities, and they continue to be rolled out. So.
But you know what struck me on nomination day? I shouldn't say nomination day. Recently I was on social media, and I saw the PDP, they produced a video, and persons were commenting that the video is amazing. But one of the amazing things of the video was the infrastructural projects and those projects that they decided to shoot the videos next to. The roads were looking really nice. I think it was the Pembroke facility.
Right.
That was looking really nice. And although these things have been accomplished under the stewardship of a PNM administration, you get little or no credit for it.
Correct.
And it's unfortunate that there are persons in the public space and they're speaking loudly, and that's one of the challenges in the space, that while you manage, management is quiet. But while you critique, it's a loud and rambunctious kind of behavior. And there are certain people that are best suited just for criticism, Mr. Devines, and not suited for management. And we need to let the people of Tobago know this, that all they seem to understand, and that's the people that are opposed to the PLM at this time, all they seem to understand is how to critique.
And let me put this on the table. I don't think that criticism or opposition is a bad thing. As a matter of fact, it helps you to fine-tune yourself very often. I remember I was the leader in a particular place, and a good friend of mine who was my deputy said, and he opposed me on every decision, and I couldn't understand why, so I spoke to him. And he said, please remember, no matter how thin a slice of bread is, there are two sides. So I think it always helps to sharpen your decision-making process. But at the same time, critiquing for the sake of critiquing and critiquing just because you can.
There's another one, critiquing because it's the only thing you could do. There's some people that can't manage, all they could do is critique. And
Correct.
yes, they have their place. But they cannot be placed in a position of management.
Correct.
Anarchy and chaos would ensue. Look what they have done with their party. Look what they have done with that issue when we had, in January, where we had the 6-6. Look what they did. They were on this side one morning, and next morning they're on the next side. That is not the kind of management that Tobago needs. Look at what is happening with COVID. Here we have one of their representatives saying one thing. The political leader comes and says something that is totally...
completely different.
What is, Mr. Davis, help us to make sense of this.
And again, it's easy to criticize. I mean, I think that's the easiest job that anybody could have very often. But as you said, management takes strength of character very often, foresight.
And a level head. Level head. Clearly, I know level head across the...
And you also need to trust the people around you and work with the information. I even heard one of the deputy political leaders of the PDP criticizing our health professionals in Tobago for mishandling the COVID situation. And I'm saying to myself, all right, so you take over Tobago tomorrow, God forbid. These are the same people that you now have to manage. These are the same people that you have to work with. And even when I got into the division of infrastructure, we didn't have any major staff changes. What we were able to do is get down to brass tacks and say, hey, we want to deliver quality work for the people of Tobago. How do we get that done? And we work with our people. So the reality is, to make management decisions, sober management decisions, it's not about getting up in the morning and saying, well, I'm going to swim to Trinidad and think that will get you a boat. And, you know, what is one of the sad things, and that's why I'm glad for this platform and I'm grateful for this platform, and I know more people are tuning into it. A member of the media said to me, boy, that was probably the most amazing thing I've ever seen. The man swim to Trinidad. I said, did he swim to Trinidad? No, but he swam about 11 miles. I said, he swam about what? I said, no, I thought he said kilometers. I said the distance from Scarborough to Goodwood is about 11 kilometers. Are you saying that the man swam from Scarborough to Goodwood? And he said, well, and I said, the man didn't even swim past the pier in the Coast Guard pier before they jumped on a boat, but they were able to dupe some people into believing that they swam to Trinidad, one, and two, because they swam to Trinidad, that we got 2 brand new ferries from it. But the sober leadership that we have, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, as our Prime Minister, he knew that he had to take a particular course of action. Sacrifices were made. We said we're going to build 2 brand new fast ferries. There's a partnership with the Australian government, which the UNC tried to stymie and to stop and say that they should investigate. There's a partnership with the Australian government, and we now have 2 brand new, fit-for-purpose fast ferries servicing the sea bridge between Trinidad and Tobago. And that was because the leadership, the PNM leadership, the sober PNM leadership with experience, level heads, took a decision in the best interest of all Tobagonians. That was not about grand charging, because we knew that we could not go in and shut down the road. There's no showroom to pick up a fast ferry. it takes time and things have to be done in a particular way.
Thank you.
And I think if there's any suggestion or any situation that Tobagonians should learn from, is that specific situation. Because even now, the political leader of the PDP is criticizing the 2 brand new fast ferries, that it shouldn't be those boats and whatever the case might be. So it means then that even when we have gone about the business, we have ensured that Tobagonians get the very best, you still criticize, because that's what
That's all you can do. And I want you to spend some more time on that point that you just made. That in order to achieve Tobago's developmental agenda, people must recognize that it's something that takes time.
Yes.
And it must be done in a particular way. I want you to continue to develop that point as you speak to, let's say, 2 of the major accomplishments that your administration has been able to get done during the time that you were in office.
Well, I would speak from a very personal level, of course, the division of infrastructure, quarries, and the environment. I remember the Study Park quarry when we just got into office in 2017, and again, plans were in place for the reformation of the quarry even before I got into office. One of the major sticking points was negotiations with the union, because the union felt that they wanted, 1, to have a seat on the board, and 2, they wanted to be the representative union of the workers of the new company. It took many months, and I remember we got into office on February 1st, 2017. By the Thursday, I was meeting with the management committee at the time, as they were. And they were saying, well, Secretary, all you have to do is to move the workers and everything will be good.
A lot of people were surprised that you were able to accomplish that. You know, they thought that somehow it was something that could never have been accomplished.
And again, at that time in 2017, I have friends who drive trucks, and one of my friends said to me that, Kwesi, listen, I have to park up my truck at 6 o'clock in the afternoon outside the quarry the day before.
Wow.
The day before, sleep in my truck in order to get 1 load of aggregate. Nobody can tell me what to charge for that aggregate after that, because he spent all night just to get that 1 load. It means he's going to raise his price. What we were able to do is take away all of that backlog, because there were 250 something plus employees at the quarry at the time. We worked with the union. We were able, and it took months of negotiation to get the union to a place where they could come on board. They dropped their demands to have a seat on the board. They dropped their demands to be the representative union for the new workers. We said, let the new workers decide who their union will be. And we were able to even give an incentive to the 250 plus workers who we moved.
Nice.
A reallocation allowance, three fortnights of their salary, of their wages, before Christmas in 2017. So again, you don't hear about these things, but now we have a much leaner operation, 60 workers. We increased production over 400%. We rehabilitated the Barbados Bay jetty, so we're now exporting aggregate to Guyana, St. Vincent, and we're looking to export to the USA as well. So we are now at a place where we can say that we have an operation that Tobagonians can be proud of, because we can generate foreign direct investment or foreign investment, foreign exchange for the people of Tobago. And I must say, even while we were negotiating with the NUJFW, who's the representative union of the worker, who was the representative union of the workers at the point in time, Watson Duke, the president of the PSA, who has no business in the quarry whatsoever, went to the workers and said that, well, they're going to fire the workers and privatize the quarry.
Wow.
And again, trying to stymie, you even dupe some of them.
Of a very important industry in Tobago. And
correct.
It does pose the question, Mr. DeVries. We need to ensure that Tobagonians don't get caught up in this puppy show.
Correct.
So the question comes up again. How do we ensure? What message do you have for the Tobago people so they don't get caught up with this insanity that continues to parade itself around Tobago as appropriate leadership, as appropriate governance? What message do you have for the Tobago people?
And it's very simple. Take no chances. At this point in time, we cannot afford to take any chances. This is not monopoly we are playing. We cannot afford to take a chance with our future. And that's why the PNM is campaigning on a message right now, protecting your future. Because we're seeing here where one, of course, on the backdrop of COVID, even in spite of and despite of COVID, we're seeing where there's a deliberate developmental thrust. So after Sandals was run away, they run Sandals away and boasting about it, we were able to still attract another international brand, Marriott, where now we could say there will be jobs, direct jobs for construction, employment when the hotel operation begins. But outside of that, we've already begun training people for the hospitality sector. And two, we are preparing our agricultural sector to service the needs of these hotels. Now, Sanders was taking 2,500 eggs per day as an estimate. Could you imagine what the poultry farmers in Tobago would have done selling eggs to Sandals on a daily basis?
And how developed it would have become, because a lot of persons, including them PDP people, are talking about the development of the private sector. But their past behavior seems to suggest that they care little or nothing about the private sector. And so we need to ensure that they never know. Here, one argument they're making, though. One argument they're making is that the PNM has been there for 20 years, give it a try. How do you respond to something like that?
And again, this give me a chance thing. So just so you're in a marriage for 20 years, 21 years, and I hope to be that there someday. But no one can just come to you from the outside and say, well, give me a chance. Maybe you may not have had all great days. And I would say a day with the PNM that is not the best day is better than any single day or the best day under the PDP. Because the reality is the PDP under Watson Duke is hell-bent on destruction.
Yes.
And Watson Duke has shown it. He rode the backs of WASA workers to the seat of presidency in PSC. What did that do for the workers in WASA? WASA is in lots of trouble now. The company itself has to do some restructuring in order to survive. Yet, well, according to Watson, it's his wife's company, has pocketed over $16 million. And he's driving up and down in Tobago with 2 Range Rovers.
And he has not said a word. I think that your fiduciary responsibility would somehow dictate that you indicate that I'm a beneficiary of what has been occurring in WASA. You are here critiquing, yet you are a beneficiary of the same thing that you're critiquing. It does speak to the credibility of these people. And we need to take a break now. But when we come back from the break, we need to stress this very important point, that if a yama go bear with a still in Tobago, the tatai go show. Watch at the tatai of Mr. Duke. Watch at the tatai of Farley. No sense of leadership, no sense of management. Viewers, we're going to be back right after this break.
What is television? It seems like a simple question, but television means different things to different people. We in the Caribbean are very unique people. That's why we need unique television. Welcome to M&ETV, where we showcase our lives in the Caribbean. M&ETV is about us, the special way we talk, the way we walk, dance, move. M&ETV is about me. It's about you. M&ETV is about our amazing Caribbean experience.
It's the grand finale of the Tobago Local Talent Blast Original Song Contest.
In the final, Quincy Wallace, Ioma Strong George, Shamika Dinoon, Delaney Bain, Raphael Thomas, Precious Regis, Musical Souls, Rosemary Smart, Darrell Douglas, and Delisa Wilson George. Finalists will perform with a live band streaming from Wilson's Music Center in Marys Hill, Tobago.
Join us on Sunday, November 21st, 2021 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Live on WAC 90.1 FM Visual Radio.
And on M&ETV, Channel 20 Digital and Channel 154 Trico Tobago. Also on GLS 103.5 online radio. Like and subscribe our Tobago Local Talent Blast Facebook and YouTube pages.
Donate to our FCB account in Tobago 2850134 and help us support our local artists.
It's a blast!
Start your morning right with your daily dose of inspiration right here on Music and Entertainment Television, M&ETV.
Tobago, hi, I am Marlon Calendar and I'm here in beautiful Pigeon Point. I'm not here for the scenery because you know Tobago has real talent.
So Tobago, we're looking for your talent. You could cook, you could sing, you could dance, you could be a tailor, you could be a jeweler. Whatever is your talent, bring your talent.
And we'll see what Tobago has to offer. Come and meet me in Tobago.
Hi, welcome back viewers, and you are tuned in to For Fact's Sake, a program designed for us, the people of Tobago, to ensure that as we make our decisions, our daily decisions, that we have the necessary facts that would inform what we do and the decisions that we make. One very important decision that we are going to make is that decision on December the 6th, 2021, when we decide who will be leading Tobago for the next 4 years. Now, we are hoping that the discussion that Mr. Devines and I have been having thus far has provided you with some of the material that you need to make that decision. Now, a very important element of leadership, my father would say, is that of your name, your good name. And we have seen within the recent past, Mr. Devines, that the name of the political leader of the People's National Movement has been, or should I say, there are persons that have attempted to bring that name into disrepute. Yes. And one of the issues that many Tobagonians felt was a driving force in the outcome of the election was that issue of the zip line. Information has reached our studios that there has been a decision made by a High Court justice on some of the information that has been put out there by one Mr. Farley Augustine, someone that there are elements in Tobago who believe that he is a person of very high morals and values. But based on the judgment by this justice, Mr. Devines, I somehow feel as if that perception now has been put into question. Well,
no, we spoke earlier about the protection of women. Respecting women and treating them in a particular way. What you have seen, or what we saw in January, was a deliberate attempt to denigrate, malign, destroy the character of a good woman.
On the altar of political expediency and political gain. It's unfortunate that Mr. Farley Augustine is going to be someone that would have been the author and would have been the driver of something like this. He understands. He comes from a very strong Christian upbringing.
Yes.
And there's a particular expectation. And my father would say this as well, Mr. Devines. How you campaign is how you're going to govern.
Yes.
And if you're going to campaign like this, if you're going to campaign in such a way that undermines your integrity, I am fearful that if you are thrust in the position of leadership and governance, that you are going to govern in a similar manner.
So and again, it's a politics of hate that I'm not accustomed to. And we're seeing more and more of it coming out. And Farley paraded on platforms saying that he had evidence. And he had evidence that he's going to send to the Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith at the time. He's going to send to the Director of Public Prosecution. He's going to send to the media. And he paraded this evidence to say that there's need for an investigation and to let people believe that Tracy Davidson Celestin was involved in corruption somehow in the zipline deal. Now, the reality is the zipline has not yet been delivered, but there was no Auditor General or no mention of the Secretary then in the Auditor General report. There was a management letter, and a management letter, which is nothing uncommon, is saying that, you know what, there's shortcoming in this information, and we would like more information. The Auditor General report spoke nothing of Tracy Davidson Celestin. It spoke nothing of the Secretary of Tourism nothing of the sort to say that there was anything that pointed towards any malfeasance or wrongdoing or worse yet, corruption. On the other hand, and we see it where there was an audit into the PSA accounts, which said the exact opposite. But he's not wavering that about the place. But to zero in again, I often wonder, and I did ask Tracy, Ms. Davidson, Celestine, like, how do you do it? Because to face that type of castigation, that type of character assassination, and still get up and face the people of Tobago day in, day out in order to serve them, knowing that someone is trying their best to cut you down, and it's nothing short of that. It was an attempt to kill, to maim, to destroy her character almost completely. Yet she withstood all of those attacks. And we're seeing it again. History repeats itself. They're attacking Franca in the same way. No, and again, it's the same names that are calling all the time. So we are saying that, is it that it's now part of your character? Is it now part of your modus operandi? One, by any means necessary to get power. And two, to drag down women. To drag their names through the mud. To destroy their characters, to make them feel less than human, to drive them to the place where mentally they may be broken and on the
to
verge.
threaten them.
Correct.
Because there was a threat. I cannot recall Mr. Augustine saying anything meaningful about the threat that was voiced by his political leader, that anybody who waves that red flag, he is going to deal with them. And I'm saying, is that the kind of leadership that we, Tobago, is that the kind of leadership that we want at this present time?
And it's scary. And I would tell you, for me personally, I am actually mortified of the thought that there is a possibility, even as remote as it may be or not, that the PDP could be in office on December 7th. Because the type of hate that I'm seeing, the type of hate that I'm experiencing, the type of hate that we are seeing, I'm sure when you go onto the social media profiles, whether it's a PNM meeting going live, whether it's on a media person's page, you literally see persons saying, I hate this woman. And those are things, this is my 4th elections as PRO of the party. And I have in Tobago, and I have never experienced, in January was bad, but now the level of hate is beyond anything I've ever seen.
Is it a case of desperation?
I don't
they
know.
recognize that they can't dupe and fool the people. There's an adage that says you can fool all the people sometime. You can fool some of the people all the time. But I can't remember the conclusion of that argument. Yes, and is it that they have recognized that they can't fool all the people all the time?
And you know, I saw a series on Netflix, How to Be a Tyrant. And it spoke to the works of Adolf Hitler and some of these people. And the common thread was always uniting people behind a common hate.
A common hate. Mr. DeVries, you have to hasten that point, because my producer is saying that we have there about 1 more minute again. So you close, remind my people, my Tobago people, of what is at stake, and we need to try our best to not put a tyrant in the office of the Chief Secretary.
I just want to say very clearly, on December 6th, we have a decision to make. And we have a decision to make about our future. Now is not the time to take any chances whatsoever with our future. Protect your future. Protect the future of your children and your grandchildren. Do not be duped by the lies and the hate coming out of the PDP. I thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to another conversation like this.
Thank you so much, Mr. Devines. And viewers, do enjoy your weekend, and may God continue to guide you as you make the best decisions.